To the third episode of the How To Academy Small Business Masterclasses with the Great British Entrepreneur Awards and Salesforce. These masterclasses are free and are designed to arm you with actionable steps that you can take within your business to improve your processes, your plans, and your outcomes. Today's session, I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by the founder of Wow Group, Qasim Majid, and he's going to be talking about taking your business digital and online and sharing his expertise and advice. I don't want to touch on the kind of subject matter too much, but we'll be talking about some of the key market trends that are facing consumer-facing businesses, consumer behaviour, and how to really take full advantage of this in a digital sense. We have got the function for you to ask questions if you want. So there's a Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. So if you have got any questions for Cass, then pop them in there, and at the end of the session, I'll do my best to get to them. But that's it in terms of the logistics of the session. So we'll make a start. Cass, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I guess it'd be a good place to learn a little bit more about yourself, about Wow Group, and what you guys do.
Thank you, Jonathan, and welcome everyone. Really delighted to be here with you this morning. Just to give you a little bit of plotted history of myself and the company. So I've been in the industry, the digital industry, for 20 years now. Grown and exited company in 2009, and then started to build out Wow Group of companies from that point on. And we've got several brands within our business. One that specialises in e-commerce, which is the Wow brand. We have one that builds apps. We have a content and story content focused business specialised in the hospitality and leisure industry. We have an IT support company, and then we've got another creative agency that I just bought in Malvern in September of last year. And essentially what we do is we work with organisations, particularly in the digital sphere, that want to grow and scale their businesses. But I've been right at the very cold face of digital. When I started, it wasn't called digital; it was just called web design. We've worked with some amazing brands all over the world. So I'm very fortunate and very we've got a lot of experience in helping businesses, not just large businesses, but small businesses too.
Yeah, fantastic. Great insight into kind of your journey there, Cass. And as you said, hopefully we'll be able to share plenty of that advice today. So I wanted to start in kind of my research for this session. I came across a survey from a London tech firm that was a little bit of a disclaimer. It was conducted and published 2 years ago. So obviously there's a fair amount of time for things to change since then. But it surveyed 5,000 small businesses across the UK and the US. It found that 75% don't have a website, and that portion is even bigger in the US. Why do you think that there's this gap between the number of businesses and number that actually have websites and are online?
Well, when I read that statistic, I was quite alarmed by it myself, because nowadays most businesses, one of the first things that they do is that once they've got their business set up, is to get at least a web presence. I'm not quite sure why there's such a disparity, and certainly from my experience, what I've learned is that the only digital asset that you'll ever own is your website, and well, two things: your website and your email database. Very, very important assets that you would own as a business. The rest, people like Google and Facebook and Twitter, all that content is owned by them and not you. So it's really important that you own your first digital asset, and actually your website is the hub and of all your digital activity. Everything should be going to and from your website, whether it's your Facebook page or whether it's your social media channels. Everything should be going to and from your website. It should be at the center of your digital universe. It should be the last bastion. There is a massive. We've got customers over in the US, and I think that the statistics that you gave are mainly for businesses for the UK, I think. There is a massive difference between some of the businesses we speak to in the US, small businesses, and the businesses in the UK, and the difference is in attitude and education. And I'm not saying that that we lag behind in kind of attitude and education, but in terms of digital, we find that the US clients are much more receptive to moving their businesses forward and seeing that digital is a central part of how they're going to grow their businesses, both online and offline. And some of the conversations that we have here in the UK, we are, what I would say, slightly behind in terms of where we are digitally. And I think obviously with the backdrop of what's happened with COVID, that has really accelerated things over the last 12, 18 months. So hopefully that answers your question. But I think, particularly small businesses in the UK that have been going on for some time, there might be consultants, or there might be kind of businesses that have started in people's back bedrooms, which is great, still have that entrepreneurial flair, or they might be just kind of serving the local community. They don't see digital right now. Some of those businesses, they don't see digital as an integral part of what they're doing. They're really kind of working on word of mouth, whereas word of mouth has now shifted to online with things like social media. So when people talk about digital strategy in our business, we kind of laugh because digital strategy is embedded within everything that you do now.
Yeah, so I guess just off the back of that it's almost become just strategy. I used to work on a digital marketing conference and we kind of got to a point where do we just call it marketing now? Yeah. But you mentioned the kind of differences between US entrepreneurs and UK entrepreneurs. Do you think that is possibly a kind of mindset of the entrepreneur themselves, that perhaps it's a more traditional business and they're actually just really comfortable at the level that they're at, and they perhaps don't think that they need these elements because they don't need to grow their business?
Look, the shift and the attention and the customer of today and tomorrow is grown up in a that is digitally educated. So if you want to stay relevant and you want to grow your business, you can't preach to the people that don't want to move forward with their businesses, and that's something that you've got to push on the open door, as I would say. But it's important to understand that there is a change, and the change, there's always change, but the change is happening so rapidly that even me that's been in this business for 20 years, we have to keep up. Obviously, we're at the forefront of what's happening, but tomorrow something new's coming out, and the scale of change and the pace of change is happening quite quickly. But if you're a business that's got ambition, if you're a business that wants to grow, digital has to be part of that growth mindset. It has to be integral in what you do. And in terms of the US customers that we have, they understand that a lot better, and it's the first conversation. It's the first conversation that we would have with them, and they know exactly what they want in the main, and they know exactly where they want to be, and they understand how digital will play a part in that journey of theirs of growth. Now, that doesn't mean to say that traditional offline marketing doesn't work. And I'll give you an example. One of my very close dear friends has got a furniture shop, and he's based in a village, and he traditionally every week goes into the local newspaper, and he from a reasonable investment of, let's say, 50k a year, he's, from that advertising in just the newspaper, he's realizing over £1 million of sales.
Wow.
And now he's looking at going online, but he understands that in his industry, and we've got a lot of experience in the furniture industry, there's a lot of competition. But he services his customers really, really well. So the heart of everything that you do must be the customer. So the customer journey, the customer experience, how digital is going to enhance both your business internally and externally for your customer. And that's what digital should do. It shouldn't be onerous. It shouldn't be difficult to use. It should make life much easier for you and make it more convenient. And I think educating a lot of businesses here that might be some traditional industries such as engineering, manufacturing, where they've got their businesses traditionally through word of mouth or picking up the phone, which still works. There's now an opportunity for small businesses to look not just locally but globally as well. There's many examples of that.
Yeah. And you mentioned in one of your early answers that the pandemic has certainly, accelerated certainly trends in online shopping and aspects like that. And obviously we know that it's, for some industries, for some businesses, it's created enormous problems, but for others it has created an opportunity, and they've been able to take advantage of it. We've obviously, as the Great British Entrepreneur Awards, we've heard a lot of stories of businesses that have been traditional bricks and mortar, very in-person, consumer focused, that have been able to, they've already had a digital presence, but they've really been able to take advantage of it and really offer something fantastic. Do you think then that the pandemic will spark a change in the businesses that perhaps, as we said in the first point, don't have a website, or maybe have one but don't really use it? Do you think that what we've seen over the past year for those businesses it'll change things going forward?
Yeah, I think it was Microsoft's CEO said that we've seen disruption that was going to take place over 5 years within 6 months. That's the scale of change and the change of mindset that we've had with digital, which is an alarming statistic. We were going to get to where we were going to get to, right? We are now, but it would have taken a lot longer. And sometimes, these glitches really help us understand where we are right now. And if businesses haven't looked at digital as a form of getting their message out there now, then they need to be doing it. If this hasn't changed their mindset, then I'm afraid that they'll probably stay a little bit stagnant in the main. I'm not saying all of them. So from what we see, even in our own business, we had all the tools. We had Microsoft Teams, we had Zoom, but we were in kind of simplistic terms, we were traditional business. We'd go to the office, we'd have meetings with each other, and then within a week, that had all changed. So this has become the norm now, Teams and Zoom and all these things. So if you look at it as a positive thing, that now you can really look at, not just servicing customers that are locally, but outside of that, and not just, going outside of marketing, but really getting that word of mouth through different channel. I think that will become a really, really powerful thing. And just to give you a case in point, I mentioned earlier that we've got a brand and storytelling business that specializes in the hospitality and leisure industry. And we know that the hospitality and leisure industry has been absolutely decimated with the pandemic. But that business grew over 400% in the pandemic because it serviced those clients. And it serviced those clients that really understood who their customers were. And they understood that now is a time to really double up on our communication and how we speak to our customers. And it was only the top 5 or 6% that really had that mindset. And that business has rocketed through the pandemic, and it services that industry because those customers were quite visionary, and they saw the opportunity that everyone else is going to pull back. We're going to really double up on our marketing spend and really oscillate between, the attention, interest, desire, action funnel. Just stay, keep the awareness up. We'll keep the interest up, and as we spin out our normal traditional bricks and mortar dine-in experience to online, those are the customers that are going to purchase from us, sorry, offline. They're going to purchase from us online, and that's a great example of an industry that's really been decimated. But there are people in that industry that are continuing to grow their online sales.
Yeah, absolutely, and that, I think that certainly resonates with us as the Great British Entrepreneur Awards. You know, we are an events business, and you know, March 2020, all of a sudden, we can't run events, and you know, something you mentioned there, I think we could have quite easily, well, we can't run events, so that's it for now. But you know, we switched to a digital strategy very, very, very quickly, and you know, whereas pre-pandemic, you know, we were perhaps holding events throughout the year that might have been accessible to people within a 20-30 mile radius, and you know, it might have required an hour commute to get there and an hour back, and then you know, you're talking 3, 4, 5 hours out of the office, out of your day. Whereas now we've been able to host events throughout the year, have people from all across the country join together and kind of be able to communicate with our community a lot more frequently. So I think that certainly resonates with us.
Sorry, I was just about to say, you know, we've got phrase in our business, which I use quite a lot. And so, you know, it's analog thinking in the digital world. There's nothing wrong with analog, by the way. You know, I used to work on analog, you know, technology back in the day. It's stable and it works. And you know, you've not got the convergence of lots of different technologies coming to one, which is a challenge in itself now. But you know, so you know, the analog thinking of the person going out to networking events, you know, you can't replace looking at the whites of someone's eyes or meeting them face to face. That's a very special thing, and I would always advocate that you do that where you can. But now, instead of spending, you know, a couple of hundred quid like I did last couple of weeks ago to go to London on a train, which train fares have gone through the roof, and you know, I can say let's have a Teams, and you know, and we can still get a productive meeting done. So it's just the mindset shift of this correction that's happened is absolutely huge, even for people like us in the digital industry.
Yeah, definitely. And something that we mentioned a little bit earlier was around online sales accelerating. And, you know, we've seen however many stories throughout the year of high street footfall. I mean, that's been a trend over the past 5 to 10 years, never mind the past year or so. But, you know, we've seen retailers closing stores, closing altogether. With that in mind, for the more traditional local bricks and mortar stores, do you think that getting online, being digital, is going to become essential rather than just advantageous?
I still think that you know, bricks and mortar businesses do have an advantage because you can touch and feel and go in and experience things. So they can offer things like click and collect. You know, you can display your products, and you don't even have to have a website. If you've got a Facebook page or you've got an Instagram page, and you're really, you know, showing your wares of what you do, and that's backed up with bricks and mortar, that will appeal to a certain type of audience. Might be a slightly older type of audience, but also to the audience that wants convenience. You know, you might be traveling somewhere, or actually I can pick it up from the shop, or you know, the locker or whatever it is, I can pop in there because that's actually more convenient, because staying at home waiting for something to come isn't convenient. Although I think over the pandemic, my house was like an Amazon warehouse. I'm getting parcels delivered every single day. But sometimes that's not convenient because the inconvenience is staying at home.
Yeah.
So absolutely, you know, if you've got a product or you've got a service, that's really how word of mouth will spread. You know, we've seen and the other thing that in terms of the data and the statistics, what we're seeing for some of our customers is the move towards voice search. So, and this works really well for what I would say the older generation, people like my dad, who's in his 80s, that doesn't really understand or work his way around a device, you know, because devices have completely changed our lives, you know, mobile phones. He can talk to it now and ask it questions, and it'll throw back results for him rather than actually trying to learn how to use an app, you know. So we've seen two types of demographic, and that one is what I would call the silver surfers, or the older generation that are really kind of using devices to speak to order things, to get information. And then the other one is like my boy who's 12, who is the novelty of speaking to a device or speaking to Alexa, you know. So this convergence of technology is making it more convenient and accessible to audience demographics that are the full spectrum. So if you're a small business and you have bricks and mortar business and you're in a local high street, you can drive people into your shop as well using online. So that online to offline, you know, from bricks to clicks. And so there's very much a stronger offering, not just being online, because there's certain things that we as consumers look for, or indicators of trust, when you're buying a product online, you know. And one of the, you know, if you're a completely online business, you know, you've got to make sure you've got the right security, you know, the Trustpilot stars, you know, various experiences on your site to make sure that people will buy from it, because we're very fickle online. You know, we have the attention span of a lazy goldfish, you know. You're off and you're gone. If you don't like something, you'll think twice of it. But if you've got a bricks and mortar business to back that up, the trust is already built. So you can drive people in store, and then you can drive people that come in store back online.
Yeah, absolutely. And a question has just come in, which actually ties in really nicely with what I was just going to touch on. So, I mean, I've had obviously the nature of what we do. We speak to a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of businesses of all types and sizes. And conversations that I've had with certainly smaller traditional bricks and mortars businesses, they see the benefit in being able to reach new customers, but they sometimes worry that it's going to impact their ability to really offer that personal touch to serve their core local customer base. How can you use digital transformation and digital platforms to enhance the relationships with existing customers and that kind of loyal customer base?
I can give you some really good examples. So if you're like my friend, a furniture business, or you're a restaurant, you know, the people will come in, they'll dine in, they'll buy a product. You know, one of the things that you can implement quite quickly is just have a conversation with them, maybe offer them a discount or something off when they come in next time, is just to leave a review on the Facebook page or online, or say, well, actually, you know, let's take your details, we'll put you on our database with your permission, we'll market to you. And that's the way you build lifetime customer value, because now my friend who's got a furniture shop, the parents have come in, they've bought some beautiful furniture from him. The aunts, the uncles, the son, the daughter-in-law, what are they going to do? They're going to recommend them. And the first thing they're going to say, well, actually, you know what? Here's a link to their Facebook page. Have a look at some of the things that they do. So it will only enhance your business, and you can do it in a very controlled way where it adds to the experience. Now, traditionally, back before the internet, someone came into your shop, the experience would be to come into your shop, you get a great service, and they might take your details and they might write to you. That's how they would market to you. So this is just an extension, a different way of doing that, and really looking at customer lifetime value. So, you know, it might be the customer lifetime value is that one piece of furniture that we sold, or that one piece of the item that we sold, that one person will come back to us, but also will recommend their family and friends, because we have an online presence. And it's a very simple thing to do. You just got to get into the habit and being consistent with it. That's the biggest thing that we see, particularly with small businesses. They sometimes say we haven't got the time, or we don't know, we haven't got the time to learn it, and we haven't got the time to implement it. But all I'm saying is it takes an hour and a conversation, maybe once a week, to be able to update some of your pages. But consistency is absolutely key. It's key to everything in life, really.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting point that you made there, that thinking back on conversations that I've had with family and friends, that anytime they've recommended a store or a bit of business or a venue or whatever it is, the conversation always goes, oh, what was it called? You whip out your phone, you either look it up on Facebook or on Google, and that's just the norm. It isn't, okay, what's the address? I'm going to go down and check it out for myself. You mentioned consistency and kind of the time that it takes to learn these things. It can be, I'll emphasize can be quite expensive for small businesses to either to outsource these to experts like yourself, or might be a bit complicated or time consuming to learn the skills for themselves. Are there any aspects of digital that you think, yes, you can absolutely learn these skills yourself and do these yourself, whereas these ones you 100% need to get an expert on? If you don't, it could be quite damaging.
If someone can use Word, then my first port of call is, if it's a small business, look at where your audience is, who they are. It's quite easy to set up a Facebook page. It's quite easy to post things on there. It's just a matter of 3 or 4 clicks, images, offers, what's going on in your business, etc., etc. And it's important to stay human as well. That customer experience is, we had this problem. This is how we sorted it out. This is a solution, rather than posting, sales offers every single day, because that turns people off. So it's an extension of you, and using these platforms is pretty simple. And most of the information, if you don't know how to do it, you can get from places like YouTube tutorials. There's millions of them. People are doing them every single day, how to use Facebook for marketing. Where it gets technical is where I would say it's, you're looking to do coding, or you're looking to integrate different things. That's where you're going to need an expert to do those things. But the showcasing of your business, that's quite an easy thing to do. And there's some amazing tools out there, things like Canva, which is an amazing tool that allows you to design things, and if you can do it from your phone. If you want a website that's kind of next to nothing, you can start with Wix. It's only a few dollars a month. So there are tools and software that allows you to do those things very, very simply.
Yeah. So it sounds as though anything that is going to carry your kind of tone of voice as a business is something that you could probably should keep in-house, keep yourself, so that you still have that, as you said, that human connection and that human voice to it.
Yeah, and you've got so many different social media platforms now. Facebook is easy, Instagram is pretty easy, Twitter is very much easy. All kind of, they have different nuances of how you use them. And then things like TikTok, Snapchat, they're all really, really good platforms for you to be able to amplify your business to people in the local vicinity, if that's your audience. And if you've got big ambitions, you can do it globally.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that we've mentioned, we've talked about some of the areas that you can take advantage of. Is there one in particular that you think needs to be the first step? So let's say I've got a business, it's a bricks and mortar business, I haven't got any online presence whatsoever. What's the very first thing that I need to do? Is it the website, social media, an email database?
Well, the first thing you need to do is obviously register your domain, because that's where your website will sit of your company's name. And that's the first thing that you should be doing, is registering your domain, even if you're not going to have a website, which kind of the mind boggles when I think of that. But you should be registering your domain, because then no one else can have it. And then I think you just need to create a window for your business. Now, whether that's a Facebook page, which is very simple and easy to do, and then maybe or it might be an Instagram page, at least give you something, because a website will take a little bit longer to do. You're going to have to put some time into it, creating your content, creating the images, etc., etc. But the first thing that you can quite do is set up a social media channel and start promoting your wares on there. But ultimately, people, if you want credibility, people will want to see, at least you've got a web presence to say that that you're there and they trust you.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just conscious of time, and we've had a couple of questions come through. No, so I'll just I'll scoot through mine. I'll just do a last couple. So we mentioned that obviously a lot of digital trends have really accelerated over the past year, or probably running up on a year and a half now of the pandemic. Are there any particular trends that you see coming as we leave the pandemic that people should be aware of?
I think the convergence of voice is going to be absolutely critical. Some of the more sophisticated businesses they're already doing it. They're using AI, artificial intelligence, and augmented reality, where you'll be able to use your phone to put onto a headset, and you'll be able to do physical buying within shops. So you'll be able to look down the aisles and put stuff into baskets, so you can have that kind of online experience. Events is going to be huge. That's going to be massive for events, particularly around sporting events, where if you're a football fan and you can't get a season ticket, you might be able to get a season ticket and watch the match, next to someone in the crowd from your home, and get a subsidized season ticket, and that opens up the world for people like that. And that will help and bring through and accelerate technology for smaller businesses as well, where you'll be able to say, well, if I've got a product, I'll take a picture of it, I'll send it to you. You can have a little rotation of it and kind of look at it and see if it fits within your living room, or you can try it on virtually. So they're the kind of trends that we're seeing. But just more of the same. More people, customers of today and tomorrow, the next generation they're all digital savvy. So it's so important to be there, and make sure that you amplify your brand. But like I said, it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be very, very simple.
Yeah, fab. So yeah, like I said, we've had quite a few questions come in. So I'll go through those. We've had one from Carla. It's relatively long, so I'll read it word for word. Looking at new brands selling a product, what advice would you give in terms of the best digital channels to promote products to customers who can't see or touch that product? I've started a YouTube channel as I find social media to be unreliable due to the ever-changing algorithms, but any other tips would be welcome. Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, you've got to understand where your audience is, and what demographic that is. I'm not quite sure what Carla's audience is, but if it's a visual product, generally, I would say, Instagram is great for that kind of stuff. TikTok is great because, at the moment, the algorithms really help you push out your message. But I think the most important thing here is, if Carla is doing YouTube, you've got to stay consistent, but your content has got to be compelling. Make it real, make it about you and the products. And one of the things that we always say in our business is, you've got to rent the space in people's minds. The brands that do really, really well, that we know of from a very young age, will rent the space in your mind. That's because they're consistently marketing to you. So people like McDonald's, Nike, Coca-Cola, they're ingrained within our psyche from a very, very young age. And the reason why that is, I understand they've got billions of dollars to spend, but what they're doing is they're renting the space in your mind and occupying that space. So if you're a small business, you can still do that. You can still challenge some of the bigger brands. So if your product is, even if it's not unique, even if there's a competitive space in there that you're entering into, pick one channel, keep doing it, but you must do it consistently, because the results won't happen overnight. And you'll grow it organically over a period of time. It takes time. It takes time.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. I'm not sure if you can see, but we've just had a message from Carla. Just say thank you for that answer. We've had another one from anonymous attendee who I think reflecting on your points earlier about perhaps like consultancy businesses sometimes relying on word of mouth. So this attendee runs a consultancy business in the energy sector, and is asking what benefits can they get from being online?
So presumably they're business to business. Now, one of the things that they can take advantage of quite quickly is, something like LinkedIn, is to become a thought leader and connect with the people that are their customers. So if they're in energy, it might be, they want to speak to CFOs because it's cost saving, or they might be transferring. I'm not quite sure what the business is. But again, it's thought leadership pieces. This is what you need to do. This is what's coming. This is the type of thing that we've done for this particular customer. That thought leadership and being authority in your industry will set you apart from 99% of the other people that are doing what you're doing in your industry. So pick your channel again for something like that. If it's business to business, I would say LinkedIn, and just put out regular articles or regular information about the industry and what's happening in it.
Yeah, and I think at the time we were talking specifically about websites. For that type of business, would it almost be just to I can't think of the word, to give confidence to potential clients? So if me personally, if I saw someone that was very active, very good on LinkedIn, putting out great content, if they didn't have a website, me personally, I would possibly think, are they that credible?
Yeah.
So is even if there's, that you're not taking transactions, if it's just a contact us a little bit about them, is it almost just that confidence and credibility from the website?
You need to have that asset, because that will then build trust in what you do. Because the way we build trust online is you get seen in multiple different places. So it's all about that, being visible, being credible, and then the profit will come. So it's visibility, credibility, profitability. So having a website, and if you're great, generating and producing really great content for LinkedIn, that content can be repurposed as a blog on your website, so they can see that actually something is happening. So that would be the message to that particular member who's watching today.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. And one final one from the audience. This one comes from Harry, who says, I can see the advantages of e-commerce, but is the cost realistic for SMEs? Would you recommend selling products via marketplaces like Amazon or Facebook before setting up my own online store?
It was a few years ago, but we're seeing a massive shift now of the people that are on marketplaces moving towards e-commerce platforms. So if you look at something like Shopify, BigCommerce, Wix, you can get a website done and you can do it yourself for $20 a month. So the barrier to entry has become very, very low in terms of the e-commerce space. When you want to do more complex stuff, that's when people will come to ourselves. But that argument now is a non-starter. So the shift that we're seeing for people from Amazon and eBay is that the fees that they're being charged are outstripping the profit that they're making. So we're seeing people moving back to their own brand and using that money and weaning themselves off, not kind of completely going cold turkey, but weaning themselves off the marketplaces to then reinvest in their own websites, because in some cases it's thousands and thousands of pounds that these marketplaces are taking, and I'm thinking, well, we're giving all that money away, and we don't have complete control. There's been instances where clients have come to us where they've got a very innovative product, they've put it on the marketplaces, and people like Amazon have gone directly to the manufacturer, now selling direct, and that happens quite a lot.
Brilliant. That's it from the audience questions. So before we wrap up, I'm going to ask you for three kind of key takeaway, or if you wanted the audience to take three key points away from this session around e-commerce and digital transformation, what would they be?
Well, just to preface that, it's important to understand that it's not overwhelming. The first thing I would do is pick your channel if you want to get your message out there, whether that's a website, whether that's a Facebook page, whether that's Instagram, whether that's TikTok. Pick your channel of where you think your audience reside. So that's the first thing. The second thing is be consistent. Be absolutely consistent. So if you're going to do something once a week, do it once a week. If you're going to do something once a day, do it once a day. It doesn't have to take all your time up. And the third thing is just remember that point that I made earlier that brand is built with investment over passage of time. So that's either your time physically or with money, and rent the space in people's minds, because that's what will happen over a period of time. It takes a bit of time.
Excellent. Thank you. That's fantastic advice, Cass. That is all we've got time for. We will be sending out more information about the next How To Academy masterclass, which is coming up in 2 weeks, I believe. But we'll check your emails for more information about that. But Cass, thank you so much for joining us today, and everyone who's joined us. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to myself and Cass, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Cheers.